Now, obviously, this video has been chock full of inspiration driven from Ortega's performance, but I will certainly say that if someone puts a microphone in your face post-inspirational win and says, so, who do you want next? Ilia Topuria, the current champion that you've never fought before? You want a title shot? The answer is yes. The answer is definitely not. I'm not putting on a show for Hunter and Dana. What business do you think you're in, dude? So if you're a fighter of any kind, or you've ever fought, or actually if you're a human being who understands fighting at all, the sport and the life, if you were not wildly inspired by Brian Ortega's performance last night, then I would challenge whether or not you actually understand what you're looking at when you watch the sport. Because this guy was completely up against the wall last night, completely. If I don't know if everybody realized this, and sometimes it's, you know, when you're a YouTube creator, I don't know how to explain it. It's like your channel is this like mechanism that just becomes what it is based on what people respond well to, right? And so like when people are like, why do you always do these videos? I'm like, I do them because they're the ones that perform well. The reason I bring this up is like, I would love to talk about the fights much more, like specifically about fights and fighters and what's going to happen going into it, whatever, but they just don't perform well compared to my other videos. And so I end up just not doing them. And, you know, with Ortega, I would have loved to have said before the fight in like a preview, and I should have done a preview. My mom's in town. And it was tough, but nonetheless, I would have loved to have said that. I don't know if you guys realize this, but this guy is 1-3 in his last 5 years. Like in the last 5 years, Brian Ortega's record is 1-3. Okay. This guy has to win this fight, and he is really up against it. It's Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez is a night. Yair Rodriguez should have been like a complete nightmare for Ortega because Yair has vicious jiu-jitsu, dude. He has ridiculous jiu-jitsu, and on the feet, that's not close. You know what I mean? Like, that's not close. When I saw the betting line, I was shocked. I was like, wow, they're giving Ortega a lot of credit. Like, I mean, listen, dude, Ortega's super nasty. And I knew Ortega had some of the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC. I didn't realize how good it was. I didn't understand. I did not realize how good of a grappler he is. I mean, I kind of like in my head knew how good of a grappler he is. I just didn't realize he's that much better than a guy who's as vicious as Yair Rodriguez, because he completely just destroyed him on the ground. But you could tell on the feet, dude, that was not close either. You know, Yair is super nasty in everywhere. But Ortega, going into the fight, being 1-3 in the last 5 years, he cannot lose if he wants to continue to do this life at a high level, right? Like he's at this, it's such a weird sport when you think about like where he was and what the impact would have been of a loss or a win. Because he's in a situation, honestly, if you think about it, you could make a case for him getting a title shot next because he has a big name. He beat a really game guy. It's a little bit like, do they want to do an immediate Volk? I think Volk's going to do the rematch most likely, but it's not like impossible that he could get a title shot next. And if he loses, he's damn near, looking at oblivion, 1-4 in your last 5 years. Then you're like, you know what I mean? And he goes in there and he rolls his ankle warming up, just jumping up and down, getting ready to fight. And the reason why he's had this record is because of injuries. He's been out constantly, injury. He jumps up and down before the fight like Tito Ortiz and rolls his ankle, injures himself before the fight. Insanely bad luck. And what's crazy is I'm not sure where I'm going to put this in the video, but I have definitely recorded this already. I'm not sure if you would have seen it yet, but when I was watching the fights last night, for a good portion of them, I didn't have the commentary on. I watched them all, but didn't have the commentary on. And I actually somehow did not I didn't see where he rolled his ankle before the fight, but watching, in the first round, I thought I could tell his leg was definitely compromised, but I thought Yair did it. I thought Yair had injured his leg. The only reason I figured out that it was probably on the broadcast because my buddy Jojo texted me, that sucks for Ortega, midway through the first, and I was like, oh shit, I guess I must be behind. Ortega must have lost. And then when we talked afterwards, he was talking about the rolled ankle or whatever. But bottom line is he went in completely compromised into a fight that is a terrible matchup for him, and he almost got knocked out at the very beginning of the first round, and he just completely turned it around and just dominated from there. I mean, it's just, I mean, it was such an incredible performance. And God, dude, did you see how tight that choke was? Honest to God, that might have been the tightest choke I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, I looked at that and I'm like, there's not a human on earth that gets out of that, no matter what. Like, literally, there is nothing that could happen that would unlock that. That's the tightest fucking choke I've ever seen, ever. He looked like he almost killed Yair. I don't know why the hell he didn't let go. The reason I didn't let go last time is because I found out the guy in my Dars had not subscribed to the channel and he didn't like videos that he watched. And so, tap, tap, tap. That's not going to work, man. You got to go night-night. And I want you to dream about subscribing to my channel so that when you wake up, you will do it next time. Let's just avoid all that ugliness. You can just do it now and then like this video. But anyway, congratulations to Brian Ortega. It was an incredible performance in a really do or die situation. But now I have to make fun of him. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. I have to, because I wanted to show you guys this clip. I'm going to make fun of him, but simultaneously I'm going to make a point about why this doesn't really matter. All that matters is the impact that it has on a person, right? Because he does this. I'll play it for you, but he's talking about his rebirth. It's only 1 minute and 40 seconds, and then I'll tell you why we have to make fun of him for this. Ready?
The rebirth. The rebirth is a nature process that the ego goes through, and it's something that felt very close to heart to me. It's something that it's some difficult changes that I had to make in my life, my personal life, to be able to really live the rest of my life the right way. And for those who don't know, that what the ego does is the ego lives for 70 years. At the 40-year mark, the ego loses the sharpness of its beak, the feathers aren't as good, and its talons are weak. So it has a choice. The choice is to die, keep doing what you're doing, living the way you are, or isolate yourself way up in the mountains, smash your beak against a rock till it breaks, wait till it grows back, then pluck your talons out, and then pluck your feathers out, and then stay in isolation till everything grows back. And then when that process is done, then the ego can live the next 30 years of its life. And that process in nature is called the rebirth for the ego. And that's something similar that I felt that I went through in my personal life, where I had to sit in isolation and face myself in a way that I never had before. And I had to just pluck away and just be alone for a long time. And now I'm here.
So, okay, I have a couple things that I need to say about that. Okay, so why are we? I said I was going to make fun of him. Okay, well, I'm only going to make fun of him a little bit because that story is completely not fucking true. It's a myth, dude. That is not true. Eagles do not do that. What he just said is absolute nonsense. It is a like a whatever folk tale or whatever. And there are enough people out there that know that it's nonsense that the first person that sent this to me is Paul King. He's a buddy of mine who's up in Canada. He's an old martial artist, traveled all over the world. But anyway, he sent this to me and he's like, I don't know if anybody has the heart to tell him, like, this is total bullshit. He's like, you probably saw this on fucking TikTok. And so I watched it. I was like, oh my God, I've heard this before, that this is it's completely not true. Now, again, it's not true about the Eagles. There's no known Eagle that's ever lived past 38 years is what I've read. So the story is just absolute nonsense. But what's important though, that's as much as I can muster making fun of Brian Ortega, because I love this fucking guy. But I have to at least point out that this, it's like a really serious story to him, and you're like, it's not true, dude. That's just not true, unfortunately. But I'm glad that it was moving for you. But in real life, I am glad that it's moving for him because, listen, dude, if you have any ability to read people at all, Brian Ortega, you could tell that's a deep character right there, dude. That's a guy with a lot of depth to him, and a guy who has a tortured existence. Some people, you can just see it in them that they're super smart. He is a thinker, man. Think. And I can tell that he is a person that can spin up and torture themselves with their brain. And for a professional fighter, that is that can obviously lead to the level of excellence that this guy has as a martial artist. But the life of a fighter, that's a rough deal, dude, because there's a lot of downtime, you know, like when you're, that's why Volkanovski, you know, I mean, I obviously have theories on why this is going on with Volkanovski now, you know, which I think is he can smell the end of his career. And that is I didn't say this last week. I think it probably feels like someone who has stage 4 cancer. You know, honestly, like I think that, and I don't mean to be like melodramatic about it, but I actually think that is not a bad comparison, because the person they are is going to die very soon, you know. But even outside of that, like if you get into a cycle of like you're either in training camp and then you fight, training camp, fight, training camp, fight, you have this incredibly high level purpose. And every day, all you do is you just make sure that you're driving towards that purpose. Okay, well, when you remove that out of their life, there's just all you have to do now is go to physical therapy. You can't even talk to the organization about booking a fight because they don't even know when your injury is going to be better. So you have this nebulous blank amount of time that you don't know when that's going to be over. And really all you want is just to book a fucking fight so that you have something that you're driving towards. And if you've ever been injured, you know, I've had two injuries in the last 2 years, and I didn't require surgery on either of them. I had a grade 2, 3, whatever is the grade of tendon tear where you don't have to get it surgically reattached, but it's like the one below that where it's a tear, but it didn't tear all the way through. I had a bicep tendon, and then I had just a gnarly thing with my SI joints in my back, and especially the one in my back, because I didn't know how long it was going to take, like if or when it would get better. So it's like this just blank and nebulous amount of time where I'm like, dude, because I couldn't bend over to put my fucking socks on. I couldn't bend over to put my shoes on, nothing. And just me, dude. Like I'm a fucking, at this point, I'm a fucking hobbyist that does jujitsu, right? But like, I'm like, when am I going to be able to train again? And just not knowing when it's going to get better. And that's just because I want to do it, much less my entire fucking identity and life is tied to my ability to do this. And it's a much more serious injury to a lot of these guys where they're coming back from like surgery. When am I going to be better? A, B, am I ever going to be the same? And if not, then what happens is it's like, oh man, if I'm not, then if I go lose, then this happens. And then, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? It's like, you understand how a person who thinks a lot, you could spin yourself into fucking oblivion, like spin yourself into oblivion, where really what you need to do is just relax, go to physical therapy, you know, you'll be good in, 6 months and then whatever. But it would take a very, very strong mind to not spin yourself into oblivion if you are in your 30s and you're going through exactly that. And Brian Ortega is especially wired to have that be a really big challenge for him. And I could say that without ever having asked him. I could say that unequivocally, that he will have a harder time with that than most if he does not find strong ways to cope and to like counteract his wiring. So, he obviously, he went heavy on religion after the fight, which means that obviously has become like a really important kind of base to center his focus and, kind of center himself. And then a story like that, you tie yourself to a metaphor that makes you understand the process that you're going through. Like, why am I doing, like, this hurts, like what's going on hurts. What's the purpose? Like, what is the purpose? So the fact that an eagle does not actually go smash their fucking beak or smash their talons or whatever is irrelevant. It's like, it's just a metaphor for you to understand that you're going through pain at this time because the future self of you is going to be a better person for it and then be able to thrive. You know what I mean? Now, I will say this. These stories are much more valuable when you win the fucking fight. You know what I mean? Like that again, it's like, man, anytime I start talking about this kind of stuff, I always end up back like in my own mind with just the fucking gravity of this sport, dude. Like the gravity of the events. You know, one guy who's 23 fights a guy who's 26. I'm not talking about that, dude. I'm talking about guys who fight in their 30s, you know, and it's like, I don't know if I do a good job communicating this at all. I really don't. I have no idea if, like, to a person who doesn't think about the sport like this, if I'm explaining it in a way where you're like, damn, or if people are just like, shut the fuck up about Eagles, you know? But I know what it's like to suffer like that, dude. You know, I know what it's like to fucking suffer like that. And so it's like, to know how much it hurts to be in this one place and then to know how incredible it is to be in this other place. And what's going to determine whether you're in this place or this place is you're going to go fight another fucking man in a cage in front of the world. And if you win, you have this scenario, which is fucking amazing. And if you have this, it's oblivion. It's like, it is so mind blowing to me when every time I really think about it, it's just staggering. It's as close to like watching death matches as you'll ever get, dude, because the consequences are so dire. It's fucking nuts, man. So Eagles, so moral of the story is Eagles don't smash their fucking beaks, and they definitely don't tear out their talons, and they sure as hell don't tear out their fucking feathers. Why the fuck would Eagles tear out their feathers? Come on, Brian. Like, that's a question you should have asked. Like, why do they tear out their feathers? Are feathers critical to their hunting ability? Like, that shit doesn't even make sense. But I'm glad that you got some guidance from it, and I'm really glad that you won the fight. Congratulations, dude. I love this fucking sport. I really do. And, like, for some reason, how old is Yair? Like, Yair is, you know, I mean, I know he's going through it right now, but I don't know. He's not a guy that I worry about very much. He seems like just a really... Some guys I look at and I'm like, this is a resilient ass motherfucker, dude. You know? Let me see. I think he's fucking young too. Where is he? He's 31. All right. So 31, and now he's lost 2 in a row. Man, he's not in a bad spot because he lost to Volkanovski and he lost to Ortega. But I can guarantee you in his mind, he is like, fuck. Because he lost to Holloway, you know, and then he had an incredible performance against Josh Emmett. Losing to Volkanovski, which is, I mean, come on, you know. But then lost to Ortega. He is probably suffering right now. But I don't think he should, because he's not injured and he is so fucking nasty. I don't know, like, I mean, that Topuria fight is... Topuria is fucking scary, dude. I don't know. But I'm a big fan of Yair Rodriguez also. But Brian Ortega is my dude. I really, really root for him. I bet on Yair. Like, you guys know if you watch my shit all the time. I bet on Yair. And because Gabrielle's like, who are we rooting for? And I was like, Ortega. And she's like, oh, yeah? And I'm like, yeah, I bet on the other guy. She knows exactly what that means. That means I really want him to win. Like, if I bet on the other guy, that's like my emotional fucking security. It's like, all right, if my guy loses, at least I win money. So, yep, yeah. Sad that Moreno lost. I love that fucking kid, but damn, that dude put a pace on him. This is, you know what else, dude? Speaking of fucking fights, I think we've like entered this new age of the fight game all of a sudden where, you know, there was like the age where jiu-jitsu beats everything, right? Then wrestlers figured out a little bit of jiu-jitsu and wrestlers smash everyone. Then the next phase was strikers figured out incredible takedown defense, and then strikers started dirt napping everybody. Then you started getting to the first round of truly, like, really exceptional guys all over the place, and still specialists reigned supreme. Khabib, wrestler, you know, Anderson Silva, striker, Israel Adesanya, striker. But all of a sudden now it seems like we have this emergence of these guys that are fucking beating guys with pace. You know, like just straight up. Like that is now And that is an approach to winning fights that I have not seen from anyone except for Colby Covington. You know, like he would beat guys with pace, but now it's like this is a tactic now. Just put a furious pace on a guy and never stop, and it is very effective, man. It's very. I mean, Merab and then now that dude last night is like. I mean, that's like. God, Moreno looked so fucking tired going into the last round in the corner, and you just understand you can't get this fucking guy off you. You know, you want to try to be surgical. It's like you can't. He's throwing punches at you all the fucking time. You know, you really have to land a heavy shot to back him off because you hit him with one. And he's still just throwing fucking a 3-punch combo in your face immediately right afterwards. It's like, it's got to be frustrating. But yeah, beating guys with pace, man. I'm here for it. A lot of action in those fights. Anyway, that's what I got. Love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Bye.